Hi everyone, our panel for the gaming is going to begin, so people in the back end, please stay silent and find your seat. And for this panel, we have Xiaoxiao from Hashkey Capital as the moderator, and Gabby from YGG, Peter from Particle Network, Michael from Exterior, Carol from Bigcraft, and Jason from Immutable X. So please welcome all the guests and our panelists to come to the stage.
Well, hello everyone. I'm Xiaoxiao from Hashkey Capital. And let me do some self-intro first. So we are like one of the top blockchain VC from Asia. And we started to invest in crypto and blockchain space since 2015. And now we've been managing 3 independent funds. And we've already got like more than 300 portfolios. Basically, we can invest it in everything related to blockchain, and apparently gaming is one of our focus. So yeah, let's welcome our panelists here. So would you like to do self-intro first? Maybe starting with Gabby.
Hi everyone, good afternoon. My name is Gabby Dizon, co-founder of Yield Guild Games, or YGG. We are a Web3 gaming guild. That means we bring our Web3 game community into different blockchain games. We've also been recently developing Quest platform so that we can connect games and communities better.
Hello everyone, this is Peter from Particle Network. I'm the CTO and co-founder. In general, what we are building is to simplify the developer experience and the user experience of Web3. Not specifically games, but you know that the Web3 game has a very large potential. So yeah, we have the 2 products, and the one is we call it the ZK Wallet as Service. That means we can help users on board seamlessly with their social accounts, but also protect the user's privacy. Yeah, and we are also building an intent fusion protocol, to transfer currently the transaction-centric interaction to the intent-centric interaction. Thank you.
Hi everyone, I'm Carlos from Bigcraft. We're a legacy Web2 games investment platform. Began investing in gaming in 2016 and in crypto gaming in 2021. I'm currently deploying about $300 million of capital in the space.
Hey folks, Jason Suen here from Immutable. We are a set of platform tools for game builders and also for gamers, all towards the mission of mainstream adoption for games built on Web3 tech. So we started off at Starkware, now we're off with Polygon as well, so multi-rollup support writing back to Ethereum, and mission aligned with a lot of folks here up on stage.
Hi everyone, I'm Michael, I'm CEO of Exterior. Exterior is platform and a publisher for games. It's a platform for players and a publisher for content partners. We also incubate our own first-party games. We have several first-party games, including first-person shooters, strategy games, RPG games, and so on.
Well, thank you everyone. So now I will go with our first topic. So apparently gaming is a very booming sector in Web3, and especially from the application layer. So I would ask everyone here, how would you define a good game? So what's your expectation from a good game? Maybe start with Gabby as well.
Sure, I'll take this from a community-centric perspective, since this is a lot of what our work does. So we want to have our community discover many different types of games, and I think what makes Web3 games different is that they have some form of economic aspect around them, powered by blockchain. So this doesn't mean like it's straight play to earn, like you do it a couple of clicks and you earn money immediately. There's actually different mechanics that we do. So for example, we publish people's soulbound token achievements for stuff that they've done in-game, and we put it on their wallet. That's building their Web3 reputation. We go on different questing programs with different games so that there's different things for people to do, earn achievements, have the ability to own assets. And we also like to see games that have different codes of quote-unquote jobs or roles within their game economy. So you may be a player, you may be in high-end esports, you may be a content creator, you may be a moderator, you may be someone who's just like helping out with content. So we like to facilitate and enable a lot of these different roles around the game.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think this question maybe is not for only related to Web3. From my point of view, that good game, you know, we have everyone has played some game. I think we maybe we don't have a single, you know, single way to say what is a good game, because everyone they have their different taste. For me, I like FPS games, but other kind of games maybe is not my favorite. So, but I think there are some essential parts of a good game. I think the first is that the gameplay is very important. It should be fun. Like I play game, I have fun. This is super important. It should have the ability to, you know, to engage the user, to attract new users. And I think the second very important part is the economics. You know, in our games, not only Web3 games, the design of the economics is super important. Like, you know, we have played a lot of, you know, there is a lot of games. They have the versions every year maybe, and the you know, the life cycle depends a lot on the economics design. And the third thing I think for a good game, it should be, you know, easy for user to play. It shouldn't have a lot of barrier for users. And I think this is the key challenges for Web3 games right now. We can have very, you know, good Web3 games with the good gameplay, but we all know that currently the Web3 games, they have the technical barriers for Web2 users. Yeah, this is my thoughts on the good games. Yeah.
Thank you. Carlos, maybe you share some opinion as an investor.
So let me split this in two parts. So the first is, what is a good game, right? And just talking about a game and not a business. I think simplistically, it's a piece of entertainment that captures a user in a state of flow for an extended period of time. Usually good games transport you to a place where you forget that time is going by and you're just immersed in an activity. And next thing you know, you spent a bunch of money and had some fun. Different people will have fun with different games, and maybe you'll enter that state of flow with Candy Crush, maybe you'll enter that state of flow in Diablo, maybe you'll enter that state of flow in Eve. Maybe the way that you enter flow state isn't even fun as we would think of fun. Like if you look at a game like Eve is not particularly fun. It's stressful and it's political and it's economic. But for those people, for those gamers, they lose track of time and they find passion and belonging in that narrative. And so a good game is a piece of entertainment that holds a user in a state of flow for an extended period of time as they engage with that world. In terms of what makes it a good investment, it's a game that holds a user in a state of flow and then gets a portion of those users to part away with enough money to make it into a good business and make it profitable.
Yeah, I definitely like that breakdown. Maybe I'll take a different stab at it. For a good game, when I think about flow and passing time, we tend to think of it as like a core loop. And it's a lot like tension relief or a dopamine release, right? Whether you're thinking about Tears of the Kingdom, for example, it's exploratory, but this idea of landing at these mini puzzles you solve, you get that dopamine hit of feeling like you've cracked something, or even go back to like the Tetris era of building something up and having that line drop and it clears and you get that moment where it's this aha moment. I think that's at a micro level, we try to look for those loops. We try to look for things that will capture the gamer's attention, and loops can take on different forms, but I think depending on your niche, depending on your personality, the loop can come with, like an auto battler, it could come from Dota or League, like defeating your enemy, it could come from very small things at a micro level that require fast movements or grand strategy. Like, it's just that loop that keeps people coming back, right? It's almost like you leave the game and you're thinking about that loop and that dopamine hit. That's what I think, ultimately, if you break down what makes folks want to spend a lot of time in a place, it's that piece. And so when we think about good games and good entertainment, we're looking for that hook and we're looking for that loop. And then from a business perspective, I don't think I have anything to add in addition to what everybody's already said, except that it used to be that games were one and done, and I think increasingly a good game from a business perspective is increasingly a live service that has like perpetual revenue models. So that's really interesting, right? They don't really have an end date anymore like they used to, and you can ship and you can iterate and iterate and iterate. So that's the two angles.
Yeah, I think everyone has said enough. So I make a conclusion, very simple. A good game is a game that makes money, and it's addictive. So I would say that some games cannot make money, can still be good games. Like Tetris is a very good game, right? But I don't think they make a lot of money. But then addictive is very important. To put it in a more elegant way is that the player will come and come again to play the game. And that is very important because this is how we measure what is a good game. And of course, we also measure the profitability of a game, but I think more importantly is the retention of the game, or if there is a second episode, third episode, that your players will continue to come back for more of this content or the gameplay. And I think that's really it. And obviously, we are also talking about product market fit that we have all talked about. So there are different tastes for players, different needs. Some want games to be very actionable, very exciting. Some want games to be like going into a meditation. And it's just like movies. Some wants romantic movies, some wants action movies. And then as long as it fits a particular type of people, then it's a good game.
Thanks, everyone. So apparently, everyone thinks a good game should be at least worth to spending time on. So most people think for next generation of Web3 game, it should be like a precondition to have a good product, or the product is also a good one in traditional world. So as a result, maybe the next generation of game should be something like Web 2.5. But on top of the Web 2 product, what do you think Web 3 can bring to the traditional world? Is it like as a liquidity, or is it like faster to bootstrap a community at the very early stage?
Yeah, so our opinion is that you use Web3 not as an acquisition tool, but to deepen the engagement with your existing community. So if Web3 gives you engagement and ownership of assets, and for someone who want to own your assets, they should really be interested in the environment that you're building, right? Whether it's a game, virtual world, metaverse, whatever you call it. And when they start caring about that, when they want to engage further, when they want to spend into the virtual economy, I think that's where ownership plays a big part. I've paid a lot of money for different games that I cared about, but I think it would have unlocked more if I had ownership of the assets. And so I don't think that blockchain really brings that much to like the actual like core loop of the gameplay. But when you're ready to engage further and deeper into the economy, that's when Web3 plays a big part.
Yeah, I fully agree. You know, actually, the previous question you talked about what is a good game. Actually, I think for Web3, yeah, it should be a good game first, and then it's a good Web3 game. So what Web3 can bring to a good Web2 game, I think I want to say it's some five or pounds, right? But I think, yeah, everyone knows that. I think the behind this, it tells us the power of the Web3 community and also the power of the tokenomics to traditional Web2 games. So I think for every, for the next wave, right, every high quality games, I know that a lot of game studios, they are building really good games and they are utilizing the Web3's tokenomics and also, you know, the power of the community to help to separate their games. Because, you know, in traditional Web2 games, it's really hard to acquire new users because the market is too crowded. But in Web3, yeah, I think there are some new users different from Web2 games. So if we can, you know, utilize the Web3's, you know, benefits, combine this with high quality Web2 games, maybe we can get both users. And this is more than what we can get from a traditional Web2 business model of a game.
Thank you.
So when we think about great games, we think that they tend to resemble a great digital world or a digital nation. I think it's easier to imagine that framework, for example, if you have complex games like World of Warcraft, be even simpler games, it is a digital world that you come to care about. I think that as we reflect on the history of humans and society for thousands and thousands of years, what we have seen in the physical world is that when people have property rights and commerce rights, economies grow. People are entrepreneurial. They find things to do. They build things on top. A lot of the history of economic opening, you know, from basically the 1990s forward, if you think about the former Soviet Union, was going to people and saying, hey, now you can be an entrepreneur. Now you can own property. And you see a radical transformation of how people engage in the physical world and grow the physical world through property rights and through commerce rights. So for us, what crypto brings to gaming is digitally native property rights and digitally native commerce rights to digital worlds. It's that simple.
Yeah, I think the value of Web3 right now in crypto, or in gaming, there's just so many really cool things it could unlock, right? We talk a lot about interoperability, or we talk about bootstrapping the cold start problem and user acquisition. We talk about better tolls, so you don't have to pay distribution via centralized bodies like iOS or Android. It's all true. It's all probably many folks in the space, probably many in this room. I think we all believe it. My view. I think since working at Immutable this past 18 months, I've come to really reduce my expectations on what I think will be that value for gamers practically. I think most gamers don't care. They just want to play a good game. And I think that aha moment could be as simple as you playing a game, and instead of that being locked behind, that's money sunk forever. It's there's some way, very simply, for me to turn my love for a game, and then when I move on to a new title, to buy a case of beer, or really easily get a pizza. Just that idea of on and off ramps, real worlds, digital worlds combining with such a frictionless way, what we're really talking about is open versus closed there. But I wonder if that might just be the first thing that captures people's imaginations. Oh, I don't know, I can do that before without violating the terms of service and had to sell it on Craigslist or eBay. I actually just press this button and oddly I can buy a pizza with it. It's those little things. I think the future's really bright because there's so much possibility baked into the technology. But I think the path to get there is going to be these like small little eureka moments that we can provide to the end user. We are often right now for game developers gated by the practical bear market realities of surviving to a game launch and the technical hurdles required to get that game on chain. That tends to be the thing that most of games struggle behind right now, and hopefully we can get over that and get those small eureka moments along the way.
Adding to that, of course, I agree with many of the viewpoints of our guests here. Adding to that, also in a summary way, is that I think games that digital ownership is important can be made into Web3 game. But what kind of game that digital ownership is important? I think there are at least 2 or 3 ways to look at it. One is that games that are high stake, for example, a competitive game, that I might lose, my weapons, I might lose my army, or things like that. Those are high stakes games, right? And then digital ownership becomes important. And at the same time, games that is multiplayer with like a digital economy, that when I own a property, that is important. That can be rented, that can be used for other purposes for other players. Then that is important. Then digital ownership becomes important, and blockchain or Web3 becomes important. And of course, there are other games. Extending to that, there are also other games that, for example, like the multiplayer game that we do in Web2, there are players who want to become kings. There are players who want to just build armies, and also there are players who organize the alliances and so on and so forth. And that all makes digital ownership becomes more important. And some of them might still want to earn some money, and which makes sense if there is a whole economy there.
Thank you. The next question would be some individual questions, because everyone sits in a unique position of the whole industry. So first, I want to start with Gabby. So we can see that we made in a gap of 2 generations of games. So most of the sophisticated products are still in development, but the existing games are not active as before. So what can a guild do at this moment, and what can you, what kind of value you can bring to your members?
Yeah, so I think guilds have had to pivot a lot in the last year and a half. And if you look at guilds, what are they? They're like the small to medium enterprises of Web3. They're groups of people that want to do stuff in Web3, whether it's playing a game, being involved in a DAO, playing around in DeFi. And the business model of Axie Infinity kind of made it easy for people to basically make money 2 years ago, especially in an environment where there was a lot of new money coming in. And a lot of other games actually copy that model as well. And now most of the games that we talk to under development have different economic systems that don't make it easy for players to earn. You have to prove that you have contribution into the economy. And there's other ways that you can reward people. It could be via recognition, via status. So our guild is still around. We still have a core community that is very interested in exploring the concepts within Web3 games. They know that there's not a lot of money to be earned now, but they're actually stacking reputation, especially within the questing program. We have a community questing program called GAP, or Guild Advancement Program, that works with different games, issues their own quests, and our community actually controls which games to partner with, what the quests are, and for those that finish with quests, we give them soulbound token achievements for their reputation. So we've seen a lot of engagement in that. There's almost 3,000 players in the current season doing that, and now we're recruiting guilds from other games to take part of that as well. So I would say that guilds are alive and well. Those players that were there mostly to make money in the short term have left and are doing other things. But I think the guild as a concept is here to stay because it's basically a collection of people that want to do something together.
Yeah, thank you. And next question for Peter. So could you share some insights from a user side because you're building a tooling layer. So what kind of pain points do you see from users? And I know you just launched your V2 last night. So how will you solve this problem with your V2 product?
Yeah, sure. Actually, before we start Particle Network, we are a game studio. Yeah, we have successfully launched several games across the world in the world market, and we definitely know the challenges for not only for a Web3 game, but also for a Web2 game to be successful, to get new users, and finally, to get profit. I think every game developer, if they have the experience, they know the importance of the tools to support the life cycle of their game, right? They have to do a lot of testing, some A/B testing. They have to use a lot of data and also a lot of analysis tools. From my experience, yeah, we pay a lot of attention on the funnel side, right? We need to know the overall conversion rate of the registration, some levels, how users play your game, or some features. Do they like it or not like it? We rely on data. And then we start to want to bring these kind of things, the tools, to Web3, because we found that in Web3 area, such intelligence tools are some necessary common functionalities haven't been provided to the developers, and we all know that if we have the more the modular SDKs for developers, this will definitely give the market more good Web3 games. So we started from solving the the login issue, because in Web3, every time the new user without a Web3 wallet, when he wants to play the game, he has to download a separated Web3 wallet application. In the browser, he has to download an extension, right? The experience is quite strange for the user, because when he plays any Web2 games, no such process. This is very, very weird for them. And also, the citing process is quite complex for them to understand. So we provide the social login feature plus our MPC TSS technology to provide the seamless onboarding experience. It's just like any Web2 games. And also, the second thing for the user, the whole life cycle, the conversion rate. The second thing is about the on-ramp, right? Users need to get the crypto tokens to do the interactions with your game. So we provide the on-ramp features. And yeah, we are also trying to solve, the underlying, barriers for users. So this is the V2 of Particle Network we are building. So we want to solve the privacy issues. We want to, improve the efficiency of user interacting with the blockchain. So we have the, the ZK Wallet service product, and we also have a general intent fusion protocol to help users. Only they need to express the intent, and also for developers, they also don't have a better user experience. Yeah.
Well, thank you, and congratulations on the V2 launching. Yeah, and for Carlos, I know BigCraft has a very diversified gaming portfolio. So would you like to share your investment thesis towards a content provider and a gaming platform? Maybe, the timing to when to invest in content and when to invest in gaming platforms.
Sure. We've been investing in games since 2016, And the way that we approach Web3 gaming is strongly rooted in our experience in Web2 gaming. We're primarily looking for developers that have shipped games 0 to 1 because we think that making games is very hard. We are also prepared to fund games that will take 4 years to come out. The best demo that I got recently, or not the best one, but certainly like one of the best demos that we got recently was a demo for a game that will still take 2 years to get finished. And just yesterday, I got another great demo from a portfolio company, and that's going to take 1 year to get finished. For us, taking time to make a great game is perfectly acceptable, especially if you're trying to make the games that, as Michael says, digital ownership are important. Usually casual games can be a lot quicker to make, but usually casual games are casual, and the casual consumer is less likely to be looking for digital ownership. In terms of the timing of when to invest in platforms, or say when to invest in infrastructure versus when to invest in content, we today are skewed 70% towards content, 30% towards infrastructure. The reason for that is, in our opinion, a lot of people are trying to invest in infrastructure because they want diversification. But when it comes to diversification, when there are not a lot of games getting funded, and you think about how many great games will exist with Web3 components in 1 or 2 years, there's just not going to be a lot of them. And usually infrastructure companies needs dozens or hundreds of clients to make sense. And so in our view, a lot of the people that think that they'll be diversified won't be diversified because they'll be competing for a small number of games between a bunch of business models that need a lot of numbers to begin with. Where we do choose to invest in infrastructure, we focus on problems that our portfolio has today. And so, for example, user acquisition. A lot of our portfolio wants to know how to acquire users better in Web 2 or Web 3, so we focus on that. Digital identity, anti-Sybil protection. We guide our infrastructure investments around current problems of our portfolio so that we can immediately help both our portfolio solve the problems, but also the infrastructure companies that we invest in go to market faster. We would expect that maybe over time we'll skew closer to 50-50 infrastructure and content, which is what our Web 2 funds split at. But for right now, we're excited to just keep backing content, or not just content, but more content.
Yeah, thank you. Very impressive. Well, for Jason, I would ask a pretty a little bit challenging question to you. So
Sure.
we can see that a lot of layer 1 or layer 2 ecosystem, they all collaborate with top gaming studios. So I know you're also doing that. So what kind of value add you can provide, or what's your advantage in terms of attracting studios?
Yeah, lovely question. Straight on the spot. So, I think, we have a joke at Immutable. It's like, friends don't let friends build blockchains. That's not a knock on blockchains, by the way, because I think there's just some wonderful set of work that's being done there. But I think if you're talking about games, right, Carlos was just saying it's hard to build a game. It's like really hard to build a game. And the path to get there and the developer friction that exists today in trying to interact with some of the technology we're trying to bring to mass market, it's really high. And so what we try to do at Immutable is just make that as dead simple as possible in a way that developers can understand. So it's like, don't interact with a smart contract. We'll deal with that for you. Just call these REST APIs if you want to mint something. Like all the features that people think about, inventory management, trading primitives, like all the stuff that comprises the mechanics of a game's design, that difficulty gets abstracted away. And that's what we're on that mission on. And we think the same thing for gamers, by the way, right? It's this two sides to the equation. You have to help the games get to market and survive and make sure they don't outburn themselves into oblivion. And then on the gamer side, you have to make sure once that game is out to market that it gets found. So there's a discoverability problem, that they onboard. I mean, your bar right now is a search term in the iOS store and a double right click of your thumb, and it's like 63 seconds from wanting to play something to downloading it and being in the game. That's a really, really high threshold. And so we've got a lot of work to do. And in my opinion, humble, like we got a lot, which even for us at Immutable, like we just got a road that I want to challenge us to make sure that we keep that goal in mind, because we got to get as close to that as possible to get mainstream adoption of games with Web3 tech.
Thank you. Yeah, and for Michael, I know you've been working in traditional gaming industry for like very long time. So yeah, we observe that in in Web2 industry, most of the gaming studio or content provider, they tend to publish their products by themselves. So as a gaming publisher, do you foresee the similar situation in Web3? Or what's the best way to publish a game in Web3?
Actually, even in the Web2, traditional gaming world, there are a lot of games being published by third-party companies as well. So I think the question you have is, like for Web3, a lot of the games started out in building a communities, and if the game is good, then there will be a good communities, and the producer know how to manage the communities. But I think what is important, even for Web2 or Web3 world, there is the publisher that is really, really focused on three things. One is finding the users, understanding the users, and servicing the users. Especially nowadays, a lot of games are like game as a service. So servicing the users is very important as well. So with this, it's just a division of work. The producers and the execution team will focus very much on building the games. And at the same time, the publisher will be very, very focused on understanding the users and reflect whatever they found out to the producers and also to the execution team. And then finding the users and then also servicing the users so that the production team can be very, very focused on what they want to do. Is it better to have two work as one team, or is it better to have third-party publishers? I think both ways can be fine, but it's two very different business. So I think there are a lot of people or a lot of producers, they are very focused in the game itself, and it would be better for those to find third-party publisher to help them. Of course, there are people who are able to do everything, right? But there aren't that many people who can do that, right? So I think it's actually better to focus in what they are good at.
Yeah, maybe a follow-up question here. So what skill set do you think a Web3 gaming team should have? Maybe both product side and publishing side?
On the publishing side, it's like this. Because, for example, like building a community, for some producers, it seems to be easy, right? But managing the community becomes more hard, right? I mean, in the first place, you have a good game, good idea, good graphics, good concept, and then you have a small community. But expanding it, managing it, and the community will ask a lot of questions, like, I want the game to do this and that. And it will be very difficult for some producers to manage them, because some of the producers will think, oh, this is a stupid question, right? How do I answer this, right? There will be some skill set here. And further along, when the communities become more bigger or more engaged, then it's very important to find out the ways to amplify the good things and then de-amplify the bad things, right? And there will always be bad words, right? And then always be good things. Like, for example, in World of Warcraft, right? So it is a very old trick. You might find a granny playing a game, 65-year-old, 70-year-old, and then she might have some mental problem, but then after she played the game, it fixed her mental problem, right? It's a good story. But if it is just a normal publisher or a normal producer, he don't know how to explain the story in a good way. And it might turn some good things into bad, right? But a very experienced publisher will know how to make it into a good story and amplify something good, right? So I think it's really a publisher work. I don't think it's like a normal producer can do like how to make it into something good. And unfortunately, some people can make it into something bad, actually, right?
Yeah, thank you for sharing all. Yeah, my last question would be about on-chain gaming. So we can see on-chain gaming is getting more and more hot. Getting more and more popular, and a lot of people are talking about that. So what do you think of on-chain gaming? Does it have a huge potential, or it has a very limited ceiling?
Okay, so I have a very specific take on this. I think that on-chain gaming is where the future primitives of play will be invented. It reminds me of what CryptoKitties did in 2017, which was quite new and really exciting at that time, which really led to a lot of the development in NFTs. I don't think it's anywhere near ready for a mass market right now, and I do think that the games that are doing, call it Web 2.5 or free-to-play plus Web 3, have the job of bringing a lot of players into Web 3 and discovering what the unique aspects of Web 3 that are bringing to gaming. But I do think that in the future, and who knows when that might be, 5 years, 10 years, 3 years, I do think a lot of the new forms of play will be discovered via on-chain gaming.
Thank you.
I think Web3 games definitely have a very, very high potential. And we have saw in the last circle, we have actually Infinity, right? It's a Web3 game, but the profit is more than any Web2 game. Yeah, we are facing some challenges. Also, because I infrastructure builder, I think we can work together to solve all the challenges of the Web3 games. And I think the key point here is Web3 game, the user has the ownership. I think this is something very, very important. I think this is the key for the potential of Web3 games because it's totally different from any Web2 game.
Thank you.
So if we split up innovation between continuous innovation and discontinuous innovation, continuous innovation is innovation that sort of makes sense. And if you think about, we have a game like World of Warcraft, we'll now have that game have ownership and property rights. The black market will become a white market. That economy will grow. It's kind of easy to see where it goes. On-chain gaming is about discontinuous innovation. It's about something very new and fresh. And so, for example, when the iPhone comes out and it has GPS, I think we look at it and we say, hey, I don't need maps anymore. I can just turn on GPS and it'll take me wherever we have to go. And then someone makes Uber and sends a car to your house, right? And that's the super shocking thing that no one expected to come after the continuous innovation of putting GPSs in phones. I don't think that today we have seen what the discontinuous innovation of on-chain gaming exactly looks like. But there are two things that are important in Web 2 gaming or in gaming history that I think might point us to the direction of it. One is what Jason was talking earlier about forever games. And so games have gone from being one hit, you pay $50, you play that game, you play the next game, into being live services games that last for a very long time. Anything that's built on chain, by definition, should be able to last forever. And so it is infrastructure for forever games. And then the second part is a lot of the best games that we've seen have come from mods. And so Dota was a mod of World of Warcraft, and League was a mod of Dota, basically. And so if you think about putting games on chain and allowing users to interact with those contracts and mod them and grow them, which is what we've seen in Dark Forest, and then having the infrastructure to have forever games, it seems like there's enough precedent with the history of gaming to tell us that there's something there. We just don't know what it looks like yet, but I think we'll see the Uber to Maps, we will have something to EVE with crypto, right? Or the World of Warcraft with crypto, which is more where Web 2.5 gaming sits today.
Yeah, I'll try to keep it brief. I think on-chain gaming is like intellectually super interesting, but I think practically it's far away. It's hard to say what that will materialize in. I think that's sort of what you're getting across the panel, but I'm here for it. I think I love the idea of it. I just don't know. Like, I think we have a lot of steps before we start to break. We're already breaking gamers' brains in many ways by being like, hey, like, sign up for this wallet, and you actually really own this thing, and you don't have to sell it in a closed marketplace. Like, that's already, I think it's going to take a minute. And so I'm really keen to see how that materializes, but I really couldn't tell you. I think it's a lot of just like, we could sit in here and have a really wonderful conversation over drinks, but practically speaking, I'm not sure what to do with it.
I actually don't know much about fully on-chain game.
There you go.
I just learned it from one of the panelists in another session. This lunch just now, who is working very hard on fully on-chain game. I think it's the next section, right? So he's right here. So I think you can answer. He will answer better than I do. I'm just learning from him.
Curious, right?
Yes.
All right. That will be all of the topics for today. And thanks every guest, and hope the audience enjoy. And also thanks 7X for putting us together. Yeah.
Thanks, folks.